time and staying safe. So my name is Tanuni. I'm from the Rotaract Club of Panadura. I'm the president, and today we will be having the cybersecurity project with the Association of Cybersecurity Professionals. And the speaker today is one of the founding members of this organization, that is Nuanta Fonseca. So I hand over the proceedings to Nuanta. Nuanta, the floor is open for you now.
Okay, thanks, Anduni. So I hope I'm audible to everyone, right? Yes.
Yes, Nuanta, you're audible.
Okay. So first of all, I'd like to thank, from ACSP, we'd like to thank the Rotaract Club of Panadura for this opportunity given to our team. So brief introduction from our side. So ACSP, we established as kind of a community empowerment and, sort of community awareness arm of cybersecurity professionals. So what we want to actually look forward to is, building up cybersecurity awareness across Sri Lanka, and especially the youth and, the general public. So we have been doing some sessions with other organizations as well. So some of you may have heard about us, some of you may not have heard about us. So even if what we take every opportunity to make sure that we get the general public to be have best practices when it comes to cyber hygiene and everything. So this evening we have about 1 hour's time to get the team, get all of you guys some tips to be how not to get hacked. So that means basically all of us, we have we are living in really technology dependent era at the moment. And even with the coronavirus, what has happened is we are so much prone to internet, social media, and online purchases. Likewise, all of these factors are coming in, and it's that we are not safe at all. So we'll talk about some, what are the threats that are out there, how Sri Lanka is preparing to face cybersecurity challenges, what are the dangers, what are the signs, and what can each of us, the normal general community can do to make sure that we are safe online. So speaking about me, so I am with my ACSP team. We founded this, like I said, couple of months back, especially to build awareness and provide career guidance when it comes to cybersecurity. So I'm coming from cybersecurity and privacy background. So I'd like to take this opportunity to actually build my give my knowledge and share it with all the teams, all the all of us present here at the moment. So let's start with a bit of a background on some of these things. So I'll just mix the languages with English and Sinhala. Even if you all have questions in any language, be it English, Sinhala, and Tamil, just feel free to ask from us. We are here to help you. Our team is capable of answering your questions in any of the languages. So small things like even the past after coronavirus came into play, and how our digital life changed, a lot of stuff has changed. So if we take Zoom, it's something we we are really familiar with. We we do it for office purposes. We participate in online lectures. So these things that's some major area that happened over the past couple of months. Zoom accounts were compromised. So that's about more than 5,000 and 530,000 accounts were compromised earlier days, back when Zoom was getting traction and becoming famous. And then each from when coronavirus came into effect, lots of high risk domains were coming up, as in the month of April itself there are about 1,766 malicious domains. It's just malicious domains mean it looks like a normal website, but then there are malicious scripts running, and it's not secure sites are coming up. In the month of April itself there are about 1,767. So, and Google said that in April itself, only in the month of April, they have blocked more than 18 million malware and phishing emails related to coronavirus. So I'm pretty sure we all must have faced this. Some email we have got from email something we have got, even for our office emails, even for our personal emails, something related to coronavirus. So, and then in the month of March only, there were more than the online scams, like, about, online purchases, coronavirus trackers, all these things were up by 400% because of what happened, because of how people slowly moved to what you call online, to the digital world. So that's something related to what we are dealing with at the moment. So just to start with, I think this is a very recent email that we may have got. Some of my, this is something that we have personally experienced at the moment. So, shows about හිතවත් අරමුදල් හිමිකරු මෙම ලිපිනේ ඔබ ආසයකට පෙරෙව්වා නමුත් ඔබෙන් අසා නැත ඔබට විශ්වාස නැත ඒ තමයි නැවත කියන්නේ. So ඇත්තටම මේකින් වෙන්නේ up to they prone us, they what do you call, they force us to think about online transfers and sort of like transfer money that we are eligible for this much of amount, give us your details. ඒ වගේ concept එකකට ඇවිල්ලා these are called what we call phishing attacks actually. So we'll get to these things. So this is something we may have faced at least once in our day-to-day life for the past 6 months. Some more. මේ ළඟදී Facebook එකේ WhatsApp වල දාලා තිබ්බා මේ most famous the commercial bank, something, some parties impersonating as a leading bank. So message එකක් එවලා තිබ්බ ඔබගේ කාඩ් පතේ ඉස්සරහ පිටයි පිටිපස්සයි ෆොටෝ එකක් ගහලා මේල් කරලා භාවිතා කරලා මුදල් ලබා ගන්න කියලා. So and then about free internet practices and protocols. So ඊට අමතරව මේකට now in Sri Lanka we have Sri Lanka Cert, and each of the banks they send us frequent reminders because of these things. අපිට SMS එනවා our password එක change කරන්න, මෙන්න මේ link එකට යන්න, මෙන්න මේවා කරන්න. But ඒවා unless it is something official from the bank, we should not proceed with accessing these things. So cybersecurity in Sri Lanka, if we take that a bit of perspective in that. So in 2018 the Sri Lanka government introduced the first national cybersecurity strategy for the country. So that is on its it's currently at the state of being developed and putting into place. So we are making progress in that area. And then in 2019 itself, we'll give some more insights into this. In 2019 itself, Sri Lanka Cert published that people have reported 3,566 incidents. That's for 1 year. That is something that was like, it was something reported. So අපි දන්නේ how much was not reported. So from the out of the reported ones, we had 3,566. So in 2019, so අනිත් ලෝකේ අනිත් රටවල් එක්ක බලනකොට privacy, personal data වගේ concept ඉස්සරහට එනකොට Sri Lanka released the draft personal data protection legislation. So this was not this is currently being reviewed, and let's hope that it will get implemented at all. So and then again in 2019 Sri Lanka also released the cybersecurity bill. So as a country, as a nation, from government perspective, from what you call technology perspective, we are making some progress to ensure that our citizens, our corporations are protected up to backed and protected by all these threats. So it's and we as individuals, as a community, has our own responsibilities as well. So some statistics. So these are again Google karot, you might be able to see this. This is from Sri Lanka Cert annual activity report. So out of the, now like I said, there were 3,500 odd incidents that were reported. So out of which we had 28 incidents reported for financial and email frauds. That mean like like I said, like we discussed earlier, bank එකකින් ආව email එකක්, සල්ලි හොරෙන් ගත්ත ඒවා, something phishing attacks or something like that. And then we had website compromises. So, recently we, for the past couple of years, I think you may have heard in the news, lots of government websites were compromised by hackers, and then private websites, media sites, likewise, they were attacked by hackers. So 170 of such incidents were reported. And then 307 incidents were reported related to abuse, hate, and privacy violations. So, that's in, social media, likewise, hateful comments, fake accounts, likewise, all these things. And then other incidents were 2,662 incidents were on the social media domain. That means, like I said, everything that is wrong with social media, how people misuse it, it is increased, it is getting increased. So that's a bit of a, how our cybersecurity, our privacy, our data protection landscape is at the moment in Sri Lanka. So, like I said, this is over the past couple of years that we had happened in back in 2013. We had 22 SL government sites hacked. And then, back in 2016, the president's websites was hacked. And then, 129 sites were again attacked compromised by hackers in 2014. And then very recently, last year, there was our embassy, Kuwait embassy, and several other sites were attacked by hackers. So this was, like a few months back during this coronavirus period, 2 government websites were hacked. So this is like, because we have several threat actors, like, we have politics coming into play, geopolitics coming into play, activism coming into play. Because of all these things, we are like, we are vulnerable to these attacks. So if we talk about the dangers at the moment, now we discussed about, where we are as Sri Lankans, and, what are the recent incidents, what are the statistics, likewise. So the dangers, what we have here is, we have malicious websites. So we'll go into the details as we go on with the session. So, අපි internet එකේ browse කරනකොට we have to be really, really vigilant on which sites we are going to. Some of them might be really, malicious websites are coming up, very fast. And, although our antiviruses and other email protection and all the service providers try to block them, but then these things keep coming up, and some of them might not be detected as well. So, and then we have phishing emails. Very, very common among everyone. Not only emails, it can be a virus, WhatsApp or iMessage as well. It might ask for our confidential information, like, our email addresses, probably our bank account details, our credit card details, all these things. Then we have, this is actually one of our biggest mistakes, common passwords. So, අපේ ලේසියට email එකටයි, Facebook එකටයි, office account එකටයි, personal bank, online banking account එකටයි, අපි හැම එකටම එකම password එකක් use කරනවා. So that's a mistake we make, and that's one of the biggest threats out there. And then we have weak passwords. So, okay, common passwords is one thing, but then our passwords, okay, we may be having 5 or 6 passwords for several accounts and several purposes, but what if they are weak? Like very recently, a study showed that there are still people who are using just the word password as their password. So that's one of the most common passwords at the moment. So that's another threat we have. And then we have online sites and online payments coming up. This is very crucial at with the current situation we are as a country and as a world. We go to all these sites for purchasing, groceries, medicine, online transfers, all these things. We go to online sites, for our payment purposes. But have we actually thought about how secure can these be? So that's another threat that is on the rise, and that we have to be very, 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 very vigilant about. And then we have malware, of course. So that is another common threat. We frequently download stuff from sites such as, file sharing sites, torrent files, and, probably we pass pen drives, hard disk, all these things. So we are inviting malware to our computers by doing that. So that's again something we need to be really vigilant about. So these are some of the signs we have at the moment, some of the dangers we have. So it's like, I mean, we don't know, this could be like, maybe this is not going to be like one at a time. At this stage, we don't know whether we have been victim of all these things at once. So that's what we need to be vigilant, and we need to take action, and we have to be responsible while we are on the internet. So just a small video to show you guys about what could happen when it comes to these, phishing messages that we get from WhatsApp kind of a thing. So here in this clip, we'll show you just a small clip that what, when we pass these messages saying, okay, log into this site, you have won this, you have, these details are there. Likewise, we get messages like that. And when we click on these things and, when to wherever we are redirected, these things could be actually malicious. So මේ වගේ message එකක් ආවහම sometimes අපි ගොඩක් වෙලාවට මේකෙන් අපේ තියෙන personal information වගේ දේවල් වෙන party එකකට hacker කෙනෙක්ට නැත්තම් නරක අදහසක් තියෙන ඕනම පුද්ගලයෙක්ට අපේ data share කරන්න අපි නොදැනුවත්ව share කරන්න පුළුවන්. So this clip, so somebody is getting a message from this number. So it's about, latest Beirut explosion, get the more details. So we click on it. So it looks like a real Facebook landing page, but it's actually, since we are not, vigilant about these things, we might think, okay, it's a Facebook, we had to log in. Sometimes we can even clone these things to exactly, shorten URLs, or, it can be cloned into kind of a same domain as well. So we enter our username and password. Okay, it goes to a page that exactly looks like Facebook. There, lots of people are using this website cloning technologies these days. But in the meantime, the hacker who just sent you this message, or who may have got this message, is actually harvesting your personal information, your username and password for your Facebook account. So it's actually that simple, given the fact that we are not careful with what messages we send, with what messages we read, with how we behave online. So that's just a small incident where we could end up with huge losses. So some signs. So these are like, now we talked about, what are the threats we have out there. So, how we are as Sri Lankans are faring, and what, in the current landscape. So some of these things are some signs that, we may actually be infected. We may actually be hacked. So one thing is, definitely if you get a ransomware message, there's a high chance that you have, probably you have been attacked by a ransomware. If you remember back in 2017-18, lots of machines, lots of, corporate, be it personal or in corporate level, lots of machines were attacked by the WannaCry ransomware. So that's very common. So, we'll get into some examples in the following slide. So if you get a message like that, it's likely that you have been, we have been a victim of a malicious, hacker's attack. So, and then the other thing could be, you might be getting some fake antivirus messages. You might remember some cases when we are browsing through internet, through from our phone or from laptop, we get sudden pop-up windows that says, okay, we discovers this much of malwares, this much of viruses in your phone or your laptop. Please clean install this antivirus and clean your machine. Likewise. So situation could be, if you just, shut down the browser and open it up, it can go away. But then if up to a certain extent, these messages, these, malicious programs that could actually lock your browser, that you can't go forward to anywhere. So that's another situation that can happen. So, and then some cases you may be redirected. Suddenly your, the sites you have gone to, when you click on a link, you may be redirected to other sites. So that's another thing. So, and then, frequent random pop-ups can be there. So, and then, you get to know from your friends that, someone is sending social media accounts, friend requests, follow requests, likewise from your name with your pictures. with your personal details. So that's another sign that you actually someone is impersonating you, which is kind of like a attack as well. So, and then your online password isn't working. So imagine when you wake up one day and you want to, probably go to Facebook and you log in. We may, most of the times we have saved our passwords on mobile apps. So just imagine when you go on, when you log into Facebook one day and then you open the website, but you can't log in. And then you discover some programs in your computer, some tools that are there that you don't remember installing. And then some of your anti-malware on your computer, task manager, these things could be disabled. And then you realize that your bank account, some money is missing. And then, you get messages from your bank or from your, office or from, what do you call that? If it's Google or email providers, that your account was compromised. And then you realize, like I said, in some cases, your photos or something you find in another social media page. So that could be another threat. And then you realize, we have lots of dark websites out there which has credential details in password dumps. And then there may be situations that you observe sort of like strange network patterns, like your internet is unfamiliarly slow. This could be something that, again, your machine has been like, victim of an attack. So these are few signs. I mean, this is not an exhaustive list. තව මීට අමතරව ගොඩාක් දේවල් තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. But the thing is, as people, as individuals, we have to be, we have to always pay attention to what kind of alerts we get, what kind of, alerts we have actually set up, what kind of emails we are getting, how we are responding to messages, likewise. So, like I said, some examples. So this is again, if you come across with these messages, it's likely could be a false positive as well. But in most cases, it could be that you have been a victim of ransomware attacks. And then about, we might see some of these things in, popping up suddenly when we are browsing. You have detected your computer, please, activate your antivirus software or something like that. And you click on these buttons and you'll be redirected to certain sites, and, some programs might be installed in your computer. So these things are actually, we should never click on these things. If we have an active antivirus software, working up-to-date antivirus software, it'll look after this in most cases. So those are the signs we have, like if we pay attention to what is happening around us, how we behave and what kind of information about us are there online, likewise. So if we read these signs properly, we could be safe on the internet, but it cannot be guaranteed. So there are other factors that we can add to stay safe online. Like we'll go into what we could do to not get hacked. Basically, it's like hacked or get your personal information leaked. So enable multi-factor authentication. So that is something really, really common. I mean, like basically every, if it's a social media, if it's website, most of the cases, major leading service providers have this option available for multi-factor authentication. So තාමත් ඔයගොල්ලෝ Facebook එකේ හරි Gmail එකේ හරි ඔයගලන්ගේ email Yahoo MSN ඒවා ඊට පස්සේ Instagram ඒවා multi factor authenticate කරලා නැත්නම් immediately you have to do this, because there are several options. You can add your recovery codes, you can add your mobile number for OTP activation, likewise. So we have the option, but we have to make sure that we actually utilize it. So most of the time we get our social media accounts hacked and get our impersonation. All these things happen because we are not protecting our information that we put online. And then stop oversharing. So this is again very common. I mean, like maybe there is a factor when it comes to as individuals. Sometimes we'd like to get more followers, more likes, more reactions, more views, likewise. So we just, because of that, us trying to feed our egos, we overshare lots of personal information on these sites, on these social media platforms. About where we are going, what we are doing, whom we are with. Likewise, this is actually what happens is for people who has the intention for, maybe it's just like, what do you call this, advertising people. When we search so many things on the internet, about Google ads and how these ad tracking are happening through all these various platforms. So, due to these things, somebody else, some hacker, some malicious party could actually build a picture on the internet that is similar to us. So by oversharing our information, our private information, we are putting ourselves at risk for, for any person to actually, get information out of us from other people. So that's something we need to look into. Not everything we have to, share on Facebook, on Instagram. And then we have the other option for security questions for all your accounts. So most of the cases, even if it's an email or all the websites, likewise, if it's at the first sign up, we have the option for enabling security questions. So that's another added layer of protection. We have the username, we have the password, and then if for account recovery purposes, likewise, we can put security questions. It's like something so sensitive, something that could be sensitive and only we know that we put that question and we have the answer. And the other thing could be like I said in that, like we showed in that earlier clip, clicking on suspicious links. So, not just an email, not through an email. These days, most of the things are happening. Even businesses are moving into WhatsApp and Instagram. So these things could be like, we get these things through all these chat and, messenger applications. So we have to make sure that we are, careful about which links we are clicking or even forwarding. So if we are putting, so by forwarding these messages, what we are doing is not only we are risking ourselves, we are risking several other people as well. And then we have activate recovery emails and phone numbers. That's another thing. So, in most cases, sometimes what happens is, if we have recovery emails and phone numbers and multi-factor authentication added, even if somebody gets to know your username and password, they will have some other security controls to bypass to get access to your accounts. So that's us acting smart, having all these recovery emails and phone numbers. And then make posts about personal life visible to limited audiences. That's another thing. So I mean, like in many cases, think back how many of us have our Facebook account, our post and photos set to public or private or friends only likewise settings. Do we have our Instagram accounts public or is it private? The photos that we upload, there are other threats out there about, I think you may have heard about, we have deep fakes, which is like, it's just with just a photo of your face, someone can actually make videos, make, other photos and something that you actually didn't do, but it will have your face on it. So those are the threats we have at the moment. So make sure all the personal, we limit what we share online, as well as whatever we share online, we have to limit the audience. හැමෝටම පේන්න just Facebook එකේ වගේ දේවල් වල photo share කරනට වඩා, if you have our close friends on our Facebook, if you don't want to, it's better not to share this with the public. And then about this requests from strangers, sometimes even through, all these things, we get friend requests from these, people we don't know and people we might actually, even with accounts that looks like, no photos and everything, just because we want to like sort of, like I said earlier, we'd like to be famous kind of a thing. So we tend to accept these things. So we have high number of followers. So that is actually what we are doing to put, that's another mistake we make to put ourselves in danger. Then we have passwords. So like I said, we have common passwords, we have weak passwords. The other practice is old passwords. So Hitala Balandal, when was the last time you changed your Facebook password? When was the last time you changed your Gmail password, Yahoo password, LinkedIn? So all these things. So if it's like 1 year old, 2 year old, it's probably out there in a dump on in some password dump that is there on the dark web. I mean, like people might not be actually needing it since like but if we have that, if you don't change it, we have already risked ourselves. So you probably remember recently there was news about some hacker had some security research actually had accessed Donald Trump's former President Donald Trump's Twitter account. Why? Because a password එක දාලා තිබ්බේ just his election slogan MAGA Make America Great Again 2021 2020. Just that he was able to access Donald Trump's Twitter account. So that's something to think about. And then very recently we saw several some iCloud accounts were hacked and all these celebrities, their photos were leaked. So these are the things that happen when we don't have multi-factor authentication, when we don't have secure passwords, all these things. So that's some overview of how we should stay safe when we are online. Actually, when we are hanging out in social media, when we are probably we may be using social media actually for business purposes. We have our own businesses up and running, so we need to promote these things for educational purposes. We may be using it for good purposes, but then if we don't follow these practices, we are at risk. I mean, like every day we have to make sure that we are safe and we are taking all the necessary action. So just another things like just a summary I have before we move on to further how we can practically do these things. So strong passwords, unique passwords, multi-factor authentication, keeping everything up to date, that's another major thing. And surfing securely, using public Wi-Fi, how that is actually one of the riskiest things. We'll get into that as well. So just the tip we should always remember is be cautious, be proactive, and informed. So if we practice these things, being cautious, proactive, and informed, we are we are actually having additional layers of protection for our social media and identity. So about password, this is like some just I'm not saying these are accurate representation because how the technology changes. So if we take at a minimum, if we have like your password is just 12345 6, that's why we say use complex passwords. So you are likely having like your password will be cracked in about 0.2 milliseconds. This could change actually because now computing powers, now we have super advanced computers, we have so much advanced algorithms in place, so it may be able to crack passwords much faster than this. And another common password is the keyboard strokes, the QWERTY 12345 6. Again, that's an unsafe password. And then something like if it's just some dictionary words, so these things could be like, it may look like it's long, so it may look secure, but no, there are technologies like hackers can actually crack a password if we have dictionary words in it, like fun, it, sometimes, all these things. If there are dictionary words, hackers have the technologies to actually crack that password quickly. And then that's why, so if we take the last one, which is a combination of uppercase, lowercase, alphanumeric, characters, signs, all symbols, this may take not necessarily octillion years. It could be like, like I said, these things like, with the technology we have every day, hackers are coming up with several, more advanced practices and mechanisms. So, but it's safe to say, since we can also have additional protection, better to have some password that you can remember, but really, really complex. So, and the other thing, a very common mistake that we always do when we sign up to an account, when we, if it's a new phone, if it's a new laptop, if it's an office laptop or office machine, or we go into a friend's place and for some urgent matter, when we log into a site, what we do is we always, save these passwords because it's easier for us. We save passwords. So this might actually be a very risky practice, because browser if we save these things, there may be if you have surfed some malicious website, it can get into your browser cookies and browser memories cache and get the information out. And then about surfing securely. Now, because for our educational purposes, for our all these what do you call all these sites, and for work purposes, we may be actually using these sites. So in some cases we may get these messages saying that this is actually not a secure site. So we should always make sure we avoid these sites as much as possible. So, and then about updates. So we talked about the WannaCry ransomware that happened a few years back. So one of the major reasons it affected lots of machine was that if we didn't have up-to-date Windows in it, it was easier to affect that machine. So that's why we are saying, so whether you are using a Mac or whether you are using Windows or even Android or even iOS, we get these security updates. Why they are sending these things is they have identified security improvements or bugs and all these things, so they are sending us updates. So අපි මේක install නොකර පස්සට දානවා කියන්නේ we are again putting our devices and the data inside it at risk. So like this. So as you can see, when we get these updates in our phones, we have to always see that why they are doing this is actually pretty clear. It is maybe fixes an issue that security issue. It may be it is giving more further security improvements. So we have to make sure that we keep our devices up to date at all times whenever we receive an update. So, and multi-factor. So like I said, if it's Windows, if it's Gmail, Apple, all these things, Samsung or whatever they have, for all these major service providers and applications and softwares, they have two-factor authentication in place. So it's just a matter of having these things, enabled. Go log into these sites and enable it. Enter your phone numbers. Use your own personal phones for these things. These things. What happens is, when you actually, if it's like like it is shown in this Google example, even if somebody gets your username and password, they try to log into your email account from another machine, you will get a prompt in your phone saying that someone is trying to access your account from this location, from this time, likewise. So is it you? Is it not you? So that gives us the alert to see, okay, why? Because we had our phone number activated, so we get these prompts. So we are secure up to certain extent. So, and then about, we use a lot of, what do you call this now, because of this online learning, working from home, learning from home concepts coming in, we do a lot of file sharing. If it's maybe for our educational documents, maybe our client, maybe our office work, we share these things online in many cases. So when we share these things online, it's better, all these service providers, if it's Gmail, if it's, all these service providers, they give us options to, restrict audiences, control access, like, who can modify these things, likewise. So these things are some best practices that we can do if it's a confidential file. I mean, like we have, lots of people, we have so many entrepreneurs, they might be actually dealing with lots of confidential business information. So we can practice these things to make sure we are safe, and our documents and the confidential information inside them are safe. So this is about public Wi-Fi. So very common nowadays, because like, in many cases, what happens is, now that we are, working from home, or some companies, some, for even because our lectures are not at university premises, or like in these cases, we friends gather at, may gather at at a restaurant or somewhere, all these things, and we just access that particular place if they have a Wi-Fi hotspot or Wi-Fi AP. So if these things are public Wi-Fis, we'll get into how to identify these things in many cases. So if we connect into public Wi-Fis, what happens is there may be actually a third party, a middleman, who is actually monitoring the traffic, the content that you are passing online. So that's why even if you like, maybe if it's an urgency, try, unless if it's a major urgency, try better not to use public Wi-Fi at all. Especially, let's say if you are, doing online transfers, you are logging into your bank accounts, online banking accounts, or you are logging into your social media, your email, your work email. So it's the best option is to avoid public Wi-Fi as much as possible. අපි ගොඩක් වෙලාට අපේ data ඉතුරු කරගන්න we tend to go into public Wi-Fi. So this is something again what just what we can set up now. අපි දන්නවා working from home ඉන්නකොට we might get a new Wi-Fi router, a new internet connection, and because we can't always depend on our phone data likewise. So we can always at the first, when we configure it first, we can change the default SSID and password, default username and password in these things. May probably stop broadcasting your API to all the people, and secure these things. So if you like, in some cases, as you can see, when you are at probably at a friend's place or in lecture area or somewhere, if you can see secured, open, secured, it's better not to connect to the open one. So if it's I mean, like, not saying you can 100% trust the parties that are there, but if it's like, if you are given by a friend the password to a more secure site, always use that, not the open one. So even your Wi-Fi, you can stop this, you can password protect it, so that even if it's an outside party who can see your Wi-Fi access point and then crack it and enter your network. So, and then about these malicious apps. So we use, we are mostly using our phones more than what we are using our personal machines at the moment. Everything, I mean, like, from Facebook to email to Microsoft Office to everything is there in our phones now. So because due to this reason, attackers, hackers, they have infiltrated the phone in the mobile application in landscape as well. Sometimes we might have all these games and all these flashy camera effect, photo editing apps in our place. So these things could actually be some malicious applications that are there. So for example, there may be in some cases, if you're playing just a game, like a poker game, does it need to read your personal information? Does it need to send SMS, read your SMSs? Does it need to read your phone contact list? So that's something to think about as well. All these, if it's even if it's Android, even if it's iOS, they have given us, I mean, like, the individuals have the what do you call, the opportunity to always review our app permissions. For example, I mean, like, if you look at this, just a sample that we have taken, you can probably, when the session is over, you can always go and see in your own phone, ඔගලන්ගේම phone එකට කියලා බලන්න පුළුවන් sometimes what are the app permission that I have given. So 32 apps you have given permission to your camera, to your contact 66, this could be more than that, to your phone another 50, to your SMSs another why these things? Let's say there, if we map this up, okay, app එකකට SMS එකට SMS read කරන්න permission එක දීලා තියෙනවා නම්, if and then you have probably have OTPs for banking accounts and all your what do you call, all your multi-factor authentication is done. What happens is, if that particular whoever gets the access to read SMSs will actually eventually end up seeing those OTP codes as well. So that's the kind of threats we have because of these malicious mobile apps. So again, these are settings. We have privacy settings in both Google, iOS as well. So the other area is on, just a small tip. This is actually for your betterment. I mean, like, it's you may have seen that famous photo, Mark Zuckerberg's photo, that he's actually covered his webcam with a black tape. So if he's doing that, the creator of Facebook is doing it, why shouldn't we do that? So that's something, if you are not using it for any purpose, maybe for your office video calls you might need it, but any other time you are not using it, it's better to have this covered to safeguard your privacy. Yes. So just a small closing remark. Was the audio edible in this video? Audio.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, yes, definitely. So this is just to give you up. So I mean, probably you may have heard about Cambridge Analytica.
No.
Okay. So this was something that happened a couple of years back during the presidential election. So Facebook was actually accused of, manipulating the information, personal information of Facebook users into political propaganda. So this Cambridge Analytica, the company, data collection company, they were misusing information of Facebook users for, for the gain advantage of certain political parties. So that's one of the major, that's when actually Facebook came into all this trouble, in fact. So that's a tip. You can actually, there are nice movies that you can watch, in fact. So I'll just give you some examples on probably, I'll just, there was a recent one called The Great Hack, that is about the the Facebook scandal on Cambridge Analytica. And this year, Netflix again released a movie called The Social Dilemma. So that's something really, really good that we all should watch. It's about how Facebook and all these big tech giants, all, whether we call it Android or the Twitter, YouTube, and everything, are monitoring and controlling our, our thoughts. It's actually, it's not that we are controlling YouTube or Facebook, all these social media platform anymore. It's them controlling us. So if you watch that movie, you will probably be more, I'm not sure, scared or more responsible of how you use social media. So that's another great documentary you all can watch, The Social Dilemma. And another thing is about, we have the document, how we secure our documents. Like I said, we are we are dealing with lots of educational, learn remote work in remote learning these days. When we share documents with the others, it's always the best practice to encrypt these documents with passwords. So, and then like we showed in that earlier clip, the first clip, forwarding all these emails. I mean, for the past 6 or 7 months, I personally have received more than hundreds of these messages on WhatsApp about, maybe it's for Pizza Hut, Coca-Cola, even saying that particular ISPs are giving 100 GB free. All these messages we get, click on this link to claim your gift or likewise. So these things are actually, I mean, first thing is you should not click this thing. Second is you should not forward it. It's another, I mean, like I said, not only you're putting yourself at risk, you are putting another person at risk as well. So that's just the our session. I mean, like our session for today. So basically, if you have any questions right now, the floor is open. So I'll just, if you have already put the question in the chat, I'll just, you can always put your questions in this chat, or just, I'll, yeah.
Yes, there were some questions on the
Yes.
chat, but there were some answers as well. But it's good if you can explain, because
Yeah.
I'm also learning a lot of new things today.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, how do we identify if a website is malicious or not? Yeah. So like I said, there may be situations like, in many cases, your web browser will give you a warning in the first place if it doesn't have, if it's not using something like, HTTPS or TLS 2.0. Likewise, security protocols are not there. It will probably give you a warning. Or else you can, if you see a link, maybe it's supposed to be facebook.com or something, but it goes as facebook.co. Like, the URL is not really familiar from what you have always been using. Just think twice. And maybe there may be some, like a very good example was given, spelling mistakes. So that's another thing. So I have come across with sites that say Pizza Hut online. It's just PIZA, not the double C. So there may be lots of tips to, in that URL itself. There may be lots of, if you pay attention to these things, you can avoid being, hacking the, being accessing these insecure websites. You all can ask questions as well. Not you don't have to necessarily put it in here. I mean, even in Sinhala, Hari, English, Hari, Tamil, Hari, or hacking, just ask the question.
Yeah,
Someone,
thank
I
you
have
very
another
much for
question
the
now.
presentation.
As
sorry.
a person.
Yeah.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, something go ahead, please.
I'll reserve my question. Is it okay?
Yeah, sure. You could go ahead, please.
Okay, right. So my question is now, as a person, I usually have like one password for all my emails and like everything. So if I change it today, right now, will that make me secure than what I have been always? As in now, I pick this one fact you said, your password might already be there in the dark web somewhere.
Yeah.
So if I change it right now, will it take off the risk?
Yeah.
Or
So
am I like too late already?
No, actually, what you can do is when you say change this password, there is an option. I'll explain in Sinhala and English both for others also to know. Option එකක් තියෙනවා log out from all other active devices. So that means කවුරු හරි වගේ password එක දැනගෙන හිටියත්, I mean this option is there that password එක change කරාට පස්සේ you have the option to tick අනිත් හැම login වෙලා ඉන්න හැම device එකකින්ම log out කරන්න. So that's another level of protection these service providers give. ඒ කියන්නේ password එක change කරාට පස්සේ වෙන කොහේ හරි hacker කෙනෙක් හරි කවුරු හරි වගේ account එකට log වෙලා ඉන්නවා නම් එහෙම නැත්නම් සමහරවිට අමතක වෙලා වෙන machine එකකට ඕක open වෙලා තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. අපි හිතන්නකෝ office එකේ machine එකේ ඕක open වෙලා තිබිලා කවුරු හරි office එකේ common machine එකක් වගේ දෙයක් use කරනවා නම් එයාට සමහරවිට log out වෙන්න අමතක වුණාමත් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට password accidentally save වෙලා තිබොත් එතෙන්ට යනවා. ඒ වගේ වෙලාවක අනිත් devices හැම එකකින්ම log out වෙන්න කියලා option එක select කරොත් that's another level of protection. And also what balaganda puluwan in many of these cases, we can check the activity. When was the last time you logged in? All these alerts can also be found in Google. If you take Google, they have account settings. You can view this. එකෙන් අර option එකෙන් අපිට facility එක දෙන්නේ that password එක as soon as you change the password අනිත් හැම login වෙලා වෙන account එකකින්ම ඔයාගේ credentials ගැලවිලා account එක ගැලවෙනවා. Yes. Does that give you an answer, Sanduni?
Yes, thank you, Nuwanta. Thank you.
Yeah.
There's this other thing now. I don't know if all of us can remember, but I very clearly remember now. Back in 2003, 2004, I didn't have a computer, so I used to go to internet cafes for different things. Even back in 2009 and 2010.
Yeah.
So I remember once I was on Facebook and I couldn't log out, and another person used my account.
Yeah.
So things like that have happened. Like, I don't think that's happening there anymore because now most of the people have their own computers. But there was a tendency like that to people for misusing other people's accounts and all that, and chat boxes.
Exactly. So that is why if you remember, if we are logging in from a new machine or a new browser or new phone or somewhere, we are some ගොඩක් වෙලාවට prompt කරනවා, do you want to save the password? අපි ලේසියට password එක save කරාම there may be situation that come up like that. ඒකෙන් තමයි අපි additionally දැන් අපිට කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ අර දැන් එහෙම වුණොත් එහෙම අපිට බලා ගන්න පුළුවන්, even we can see the even on Facebook and all the social media platform, we can see what are the devices that we have that is currently logged in. Yes.
Yes.
Any other question? There was another question related to whether the Zoom platform is safe to conduct meetings. So that's, yeah, earlier, I mean, like what we are saying is just our opinion in this case. Earlier, when Zoom was initially, after the coronavirus thing, Zoom gained lots of popularity. So at that time, they faced a lot of security concerns. Our account leak Zoom, they had lots of security lapses in place. So as you know, make a avadane world when world was getting all this attention around Zoom, they did implement a lot of security controls. So we can't exactly say this one is safe, this one is not, you don't use that or don't use this, but we have all the, you know, there are so many features that you can use to secure meetings and you know, to have secure platform, use Zoom as a secure platform. So it's just a matter of how we configure these things. Now Zoom has lots of all these options available. And then if please feel free to ask questions. I'll go into another one. Can you explain about ethical hacking? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Nowadays we are just installing the multiple apps in the phones or whatever the computer. But the reason is sometimes that, for example, email, WhatsApp, or Viber, whatever the things now, we don't have any options. Sometimes, like for instance, we are installing railway this program, but he does not need that. He does not need any other mic or whatever the things, but he's still asking. So what is what we can do that? What is the impact of sometimes these apps are asking unnecessary permissions? Even if you don't have to agree with that, they don't allow to do that, but still we won't do that. So what is the better option that to do with this?
Yeah, so what happens is if it's actually from my personal experiences, from our as security people, what we can say is, okay, if it's a really verified, or like, you know, if there's no malicious intent in these developers, when you don't allow permissions, it will still provide you know, you will be able to proceed with it. But in many cases, if it still continue to ask these permissions, you have to see, okay, you know, in Google Play, sometimes they get the verified by Play Protect an icon like that. So it doesn't 100% say that the app is secure, but I mean, like, since it's up to us to be safe online, if it is asking for excessive permissions and we know for a fact that it doesn't need it, we can always go for another app, a similar app which does not require that kind of permissions. So in most cases, if it doesn't, I mean, like, I also have several apps like that. If it's like, you know, if even without permissions, they do allow installing and using this application. Like you said, if railway, I'm not sure if you are downloading a railway service app, why do they need a microphone if you can't probably call the railway station, or likewise, they should not have the access for that.
Yeah, they are not asking, but for example, like you just said that.
Exactly, yes. So in these cases, it's better to, you know, always, you know, even in Google App Store and iOS Store, Play Store and App Store, what they have is they have all these verified, you know, secure, they do continuous research and review of the applications that are there, but it doesn't say it will be 100% secure. But always try to go for the applications that have minimum permissions required to and still be working. That's the recommendation that we can suggest, which will be the safest. I hope it gave you an answer.
Yeah, thanks for that. Sometimes what I'm doing is I just take a isolated device like a tab or something just to install everything where there are no photos or audios or whatever my personal documents. Just use the apps. Whatever happens, it doesn't matter and no impact on that.
Yeah, that's another good. That's another good way to use it. If you have additional information, additional device for that purpose, that's up to you. So that's another good thing. So
And
then, yeah.
could you please kindly tell us that the Windows original software, once we update, do we need any additional virus guards or that can we depend on the Defender itself for the protection when you are using the internet and everything like that?
Again, like as people from the security industry, we can't exactly say this one. To promote these things, we can't do it. But you have to always, if it's a Windows Defender tool that you're using, but if you want additional protection, what you can do is, if a particular antivirus solution is actually giving you some, go to their websites and see what are the features that they have. So if there are features that you think, okay, these are really important, it's better to go into that, go with that service, that application, antivirus software. So that depends on what kind of protection you need and to what extent you want your devices to be secure. There are shortcomings. I mean, like all applications, they have shortcomings in place, because in most cases, most applications are dependent on signature based. Now there are real time now with the artificial intelligence coming in. Then ඉස්සරහට ගොඩක් corporate level එකේ they have antivirus software which are like, we don't need periodic updates, but most of the antivirus software that we have at the moment, for personal users, they are dependent on I mean අපි ගොඩක් වෙලාවට අපි select කරන්නේ updates patch based antivirus software, signature based. So මේකෙන් වෙන්නේ අපි antivirus එක up to date නොවුනොත් there's still going to be a risk in it. මොකද ඒගොල්ලෝ last update එක හැම update එකෙම තමයි they do all these track and all these fixes for current antivirus malwares. They send it out based in the next update. So in the risk එකක් තියෙනවා. So it is up for us to see, okay, what is our requirements, and so ඒකට අනුව antivirus එක තෝරන එක, it's up to us.
Thanks for that.
So there was a question about explain about ethical hacking. So small explanation එකක් දෙන්නම්. Ethical hacking, what we mean by that is අපි under certain controlled environment එකක ethically අපි මොකද කියන්නේ සදාචාරාත්මක විදියට අපි අපේ security researchers මේ hack කරන technologies ඒවා practice කරන එක, ඉගෙන ගන්න එක, research කරන එක තමයි basically අපි ethical hacking කියන concept එකෙන් කියන්නේ. දැන් ඊට අමතරව සමහර අපි කියනවා hackers ලා, එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි තව term එකක් තියෙනවා script kiddies ලා කියලා. මේගොල්ලෝ කරන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝ කිසි guideline එකක් නැහැ, හිතුමතේ ඕනම site එකකට ගහලා, they don't have any discipline, they just do it for fun, for attention, maybe for personal gains. Eva, that is we called unethical hacking, sort of like what we call it. That's completely opposite of it. So if we are in a controlled environment, we make a certain guidelines වලට අනුකූලව certain protocols will follow කරලා අන්න ඒව කරන එක තමයි අපි normally ethical hacking කියන concept එකෙන් කරන්නේ. There was another
Nuan, there's another question.
Yeah.
Was I interrupting your explanation?
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
If so, go ahead, Nuan. I thought you were done.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Go ahead.
There's another question about WhatsApp. Can WhatsApp be hacked? Someone I know recently got a message saying that someone logged into WhatsApp from a web Linux.
Yeah. So in that case, so what
okay, so I'm asking the question. Okay. Now the question says, can WhatsApp be hacked? Someone I know recently got a message saying that someone logged into WhatsApp web from a Linux. Within brackets, this person has never logged in.
Never? I'm sorry. Hello?
No,
Sandhuri?
within bracket it says this person has never logged into WhatsApp web.
Okay. So,
Hello?
yeah, heard it.
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. Sandhuri, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Noah.
Yeah. So I'll just explain that. Okay. WhatsApp. So there was a WhatsApp can be hacked. Actually, that someone has answered it after watching a 5 minutes video. So we can't necessarily say WhatsApp can be hacked. It's a subjective. So there could be situations that the WhatsApp session can be hijacked. Which is like if we are particular in a certain same network and unsecure network, a session could be hacked, a session could be hijacked, and then maybe your phone had been compromised. So that means you may not have done it from your you may not have logged in from your from web through your WhatsApp web, but maybe it's your QR code that has been a QR code had been what do you call it, accessed. So we can't necessarily term it as WhatsApp can be hacked kind of a thing, but there are like I said, session hijacking, all these things, message reading, accessing the messages through the QR code. Likewise, these things could actually be done. Yes.
Okay. That means unless otherwise our devices are previously compromised, it is like highly unlikely.
Exactly. Yes. So I'll go to another question. If you all have questions, please ask.
So, am I audible? Can I?
Yes. Yeah.
So there are information gathering tools like Nmap and Multigo.
Yes.
Can we protect our data from just using a private social media account from those tools?
So that's basically, I really didn't follow your question. It's not clear actually.
So from that uh, social information gathering tools, can we protect our data from just putting our account private?
Yeah, so what happens is like the Nmap and the tools that you mentioned, they are actually to scan networks, particularly certain networks. So in that case, if we have, if it depends on the level of, how public, how our network traffic is controlled. So in that case, even if you are in the same network and using WhatsApp or Facebook and everything, there may be situations where that they can read your footprint and get the information. It's not necessarily that you can use Nmap and all these network reconnaissance tools to get WhatsApp accounts, but if it will just a matter of, they will do the scan of the network and can get the confidential personal confidential information.
Okay, thank you.
So there was another question, is the TeamViewer secure app for business? Yeah, so I think so all these things, TeamViewer, for what we have is for file sharing and remote access, all these things. It depends on the the configurations that we have set up. Even if we talk about all these online meeting platforms, Zoom, Teams, and everything, it depends on how we configure these things, what information we set as private and closed. Likewise, ultimately it comes down to that. Every application has the features to to secure these, if it's a meeting or device or anything. It's just a matter of just to if we are a system admin, or even if we're using for personal purposes, how we set it up. Yes, I missed any question?
There is another interesting question, Nuwanta. It says, what is your opinion on so-called online money earning platforms?
Sorry. Yes. Okay. So opinion in a sense, like online money earning platform. I mean, like it's. I know personally people who had earned money from that, but it's basically, so what happens is, how do we go, how that business operates? Do we have to do an upfront, sort of like purchase or, deposit? It is like, I'm sure you're talking about something like, just I'm not sure clear about what kind of an online money earning platform you're talking about, but in many cases, if it's forex or this all these bit forex kind of trading things, there are people who had done it, but there are people who had failed in it, and there are people who get sort of like addicted to it and end up losing more than gaining. So it's just like, from security perspective, it does not, it like it comes down to identifying all the verified platforms like that. I mean, if from an opinion, what we can say, it's ultimately drills down to how we use it. So I think it gives a bit of an I mean, like, there's always platforms like probably Google search, verified users. You can get all these advice from all this, how to do this online business, online money earning platforms.
And we have another question, Nuanta. It's asking, what's the first clue we get if the Google account, Facebook, or WhatsApp is hacked? Do we always get the email?
Yeah, so first things first. So if you have not activated multi-factor authentication, there will not be much of a clue. You will not know. I mean, like, if it's just Facebook or email, you just right now, if you have no multi-factor authentication and everything enabled, and sometimes we have the alerts, we can activate alerts if it's from another person. If somebody is logged in, alerts are not activated, you are unlikely to see what what is happening at the moment with your account. But that depends on how many alerts or what kind of alerts you have activated. But if you don't have anything, probably you might not know it. And the account access කරපු එකනා from the other side, if they change the password, you will not get access to it back if you don't have the recovery account, recovery email, security questions. All these multi-factor authentications are enabled. So that's the risk in it. It has happened to some of the people, a few people I know, they have not activated these things, so they had to, like, there was no way to recover their accounts, because recovery email එකක්, phone number එකක්, multi-factor එකක් මුකුත් දාලා නැතුව just username and password එක තියෙද්දි, if මට කාගේ හරි account එකක් තියෙනවා නම්, first thing I will do is I will go and log into that account and change the password. The other person will not know that එයා log වෙන්න බලනකොට එයාට යන්න බෑ. So he has no option to recover the account.
I personally have friends who have done that to other people. That's beside the point. Anyway, I was going to say, now, even if you forget your password, I have felt that having multi-factor authentication is pretty useful. Like, most of the time that happens to me. Like, I forget my passwords and then I go through the phone or the SMS. So that is anyway useful.
Yes.
Excuse me, and actually, as you correctly highlighted the importance of the strong passwords, and it might be all right for the password guessing or dictionary attack. Otherwise, what if the phishing attack? So whatever the password, it will be getting by the receiver. So then it comes to a 2 or 3 sector authentication. Are there any possibility some smart hacker to get the password, like once you are getting the alert, even ignoring that? I have seen that in Dialog app also, so we can do some hide that of the trick, and we don't know what are changing. So is that possible, even to avoid two-sector authentication and just to hack if somebody needs? I wish frequently.
So what you're saying is, even with the two-factor authentication, people can actually hack. Are you asking if it can be hacked or not?
Hack easily, yes. Hack easily, or how often it could happen, and how easy to hack that in that two-sector authentication of this.
So not impossible. So we will not say it's impossible, but he has to have if it's an OTP, he has to have break through the controls, compromise the device as well as the ISP, the service provider, who is the SMS is enabled from their side. So if he can compromise all these things, device as well as the ISP, then definitely they will be able to bypass the two-factor authentication as well, which is, unless we are sort of highly influential people, I don't think not saying it's not going to happen, but it can there may be sometimes hackers have all these resources. They may be like අපි දන්නවා hackers nation state කියලා government sponsored hackers ලා ඉන්න පුළුවන්. So if they have the resources and the computing facilities, they definitely can bypass the ISP and the what do you call the device and the compromise the device and get the OTP. Very kamak naha, but requires lots of effort and resources. It's hard, could be done.
Thanks. Is that the latest program of CEH 8 version?
Sorry?
Ethical hacking version, is that the 8 or later version now?
You're talking about certified ethical hacker, right?
Yeah, CEH, yes.
Yeah, CEH, they have a version 10. Yeah, version 10 and 11, I think they released.
Updated
yes.
one. All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
And they have expanded it to practical and sort of earlier it was just the MCQ exam. Now we have the practical one as well. You can select the specialization as well. It's MCQ or the practical one for the CEH master kind of. They have changed the exam structure.
We have another question from Sashindu. It says, your IP address is visible. What does this mean?
Yeah, so basically that means is in some cases when we go into these torrent sites and everything, we get this messages saying your IP address is visible. So that is actually your ID. So basically if we are not using that, what is suggesting is user VPN basically. So it means the IP address is the public IP that is given to you by the ISP. That means if your ISP has assigned you a public IP, so you get that will be visible when you're on the internet. So it's a leased one. It can change. It changed quite often, probably in a weekly or not exactly a given frequency, but it's just the IP address that will be provided by your ISP.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Yeah.
There are many apps in App Store and Play Store, all these softwares and many other things.
Yes.
So can they access our camera and microphone without us knowing it?
Sorry?
Can all these apps that in App Store and Play Store, if it's a malicious one, so can they access, let's say it's a game, and can they access our camera and microphone without us knowing it?
Yeah, so that's right. So what happens is, okay, initially when we install these apps, they might ask for our permissions, but in some cases it can bypass that phase and just install it. So there may be situations that අපි දන්නේ නැතුව without us knowing they are accessing these things. So we have to ideally in most cases we have to give the permissions. So අපි initially අපි පළවෙනි පාට මේක install කරනකොට සමහර වෙලාවට මේක අපි ඕක දන්නේ නැතුව ලව කරගෙන ගිහිල්ලා අපි නොදැනුවත්ව කරලා තිබ්බනම් they can access. So what happens is හොඳම දේ තමයි how we overcome that is දැන් උනත් අපිට පුළුවන් කියලා app permissions බලලා remove the unnecessary permissions. Does it give you ඕක වෙන්න පුළුවන් අවස්ථාවල් වෙන්න තියෙන්නේ සමහරලාට අපි we download APKs. So එහෙම වුණාම සමහරලාට we might miss these things අපි without downloading from the Play Store or the App Store අපි සමහරලාට phone එකට දාගන්න APK එක download කරගන්නවා Google හරි public sites වලින් හරි. ඒ වගේ අවස්ථාවක මේ permissions they can bypass and you can actually these things can be what do you call accessed. Does it answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
And we have another interesting question, Nuanta. It says, if we are faced with a phishing attack, is there any method to recover data without paying the hackers?
Two things. Apay data, if we have backups, of course we can. Then ගොඩක් වෙලාවට what happens is ideally අපි මේවා අපේ critical documents backup කරලා තිබ්බොත් malware ransomware attack එකකට පස්සේ we probably can get rid of that and restore the documents we have. But if we don't have any backups and there are slim chances that we can actually recover these data after a ransomware attack without paying the hackers. So we can go to certain data recovery tools they were use කරලා අපිට ගන්න පුළුවන්, but that requires lots of effort. So yeah, it depends on how much we have affected, how much we have been affected.
Okay, and there is another. Actually, this is an answer that I have a doubt on. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
When you use incognito mode, Chrome does not keep any history, passwords, and any details you enter when you are browsing. Is this true?
Yes. So what happens is incognito mode. What happens is for the time at that particular stage, it doesn't say what happens. It doesn't save your cookies at all, and the history it is not there. But you are not completely invisible because even in incognito mode, your ISP can actually see the data. So although it promotes as you are completely invisible, kind of like when you use incognito mode, you are not actually 100% invisible. We are ISPs can see these things and track us.
And there's this another claim that this is actually one of my friends saying, like he says that Google kind of keeps our information, and so not to use Google tools and all that, but to use open source tools like Pronto Mail and everything like that. So what do you think about this, Nuanta?
Yeah, so that's why I said, I mean, like I'll put the movie name here. Take your time to watch this movie. There is some truth behind that claim. I mean, not like I said, not just not just Google, all the big techs, like if it's Apple, Facebook, have own all these things. They do certain from ad tracking, from behavioral monitoring. So our online, yeah. Each of these that is what I mean, that's their main source of income actually, how we behave online, what we do, how we sort of like our online behavior is has been turned into their income. So there is actually you have certain controls in it. You can opt out from certain areas in the privacy policy, and you give to consent kind of these things if you go into these details. But ultimately it can monitor your entire activity online. So that's why I put this movie in the chat. So just watch it. It's about 2 hours or 1.5 hours time. Will open your eyes a lot to what is happening at this big tech arena and the social media platforms. Yes.
Oh, there's a huge lot of movies, but
yes.
Manula has just texted.
Yes. So that's a really good stuff you can watch online, all these things, what is happening around cybersecurity. It's getting a lot of lots of traction these days. People are, why? Because I mean, you may probably have heard about the EU GDPR. The European Union released the privacy regulation. It's a law actually. So ඒකාවට පස්සේ most of the time from all these tech companies had to face lots of pressure into how they handled individual data. Unfortunately,
no, sorry, Nuanta, please continue.
No, I will like saying, unfortunately, at the moment, we do have the drafted bill for our personal data protection. We don't have that kind of, regulatory, that kind of opportunity at the moment to control our data. It's only the best practices that we can use, that we have.
And there is this other thing that I have noticed in Sri Lanka a lot, like when we fill forms or when we fill some sort of a database, these emails are collected and then they are sold for other parties without our consent, and they gain money, like they gain sponsorships or anything. So I like, even now we collected the emails for this webinar. We collected through the registration form, but we make sure that we don't use it for sponsorships or any kind of financial benefit. But it's not the case. It's not the case most of the time. So isn't there a law against this kind of spreading your private details against your consent?
So if you take a law,
Or
Sri
is it that
Lanka,
bill? Or is it that bill that you were referring to?
yes.
ඒක
So
තියනවද?
ඒක තියෙනවා, but that law has not passed at the moment. It covers all these things about how, you know, advertising and all these things to a certain extent. So it's kind of like founded based on the general data protection regulation that European Union released. So we get lots of control in our data if that passes. But unfortunately, දැනට අපේ data වලට control එකක් අපිට නැහැ, unless it is up to them. We have to make sure that we give a minimum amount of information for the you know, whatever service provider we are going to. So, and that's
I have even replied back saying, how did you receive my email? I never gave you my email. I have gotten I've actually gotten so mad with certain parties for like exposing, because I get constant emails to my email box, like non-stop marketing mails.
Yeah, it happens to us as well. I mean, like sometimes I get a phone call even with unknown numbers, and then I think it's something important. I answer it. It's from Jyotisha Vedin. All these things are coming up. I mean, like, where the hell did you get my number? Is my first reaction. So yeah, that we don't have control at the moment. There is lots of, I mean, from our opinion, lots of unethical practices going on with how our data is being processed by these all these companies out there, most of these companies out there. So we have to wish for that we get some kind of control, and there is a law to actually, you know, minimize, restrict these unethical processing.
If you are not paying for a product, then you are the product. Yes, I have heard this before.
Yes, that is one of the, you know, the entire, that is, if we take, you know, one simple thing, that is ultimately what has the entire internet has become. We think we are using the services, you know, all these products and everything. Ultimately, we have become the product, and they are using us for, you know, for the information and advertising and the revenue.
I don't know whether to laugh or to cry after hearing that.
Yeah, so that's like, you know, if you take when this social dilemma came in, you should really watch that documentary movie. When it, like, you know, if you watch it, you will definitely feel more careful next time when you are on the internet and in social media. There was a question.
Another question. Yeah. Yes.
No, go ahead. I was.
How trusted are these VPN providers?
So, okay. What happens is, okay, if we take trusted perspective, free VPN is definitely not recommended. So it might say sort of like, you know, if it's a free VPN, we never know which tunnels they're using, how the traffic flows. But if it's commercial, you can definitely have some kind of a guarantee in it. Like, you know, there are certain commercial VPN providers out there, like, you know, not the free versions, because I mean, like, again, that ultimately comes down to previous point we were making. If it is free, we are not the that's not the product. So be careful when you use the free VPN services, because we don't know where this traffic is going. We think it's secure, but it can actually not be secure as well. There are two sides to it. That's why we say, if you want to use a VPN, go with the commercial one and the verified ones. Like, you know, there are famous ones out there, and even with some antivirus softwares, there are VPNs as well. So yeah. I think that question was for Sohan, so I hope it answers your concern.
Yes.
So there is another, I think, can WhatsApp be hacked? We mentioned earlier as well regarding that. So received an email with the password of another email address. In the email, the sender had threatened saying the data will be shared and the data will be encrypted if it didn't pay to you in the Bitcoin before 24 hours. We backed up our information as per nothing happened after. It's been a while. Should we still be concerned about this? So yeah, so I think that's Tejani Vijayawardena. So that's why these things, if it's, I'm not sure whether it's from personal email you got it or in an office environment or business perspective, it's better if we, you can, if it pose, if you are still unsure about these things, you can always report these incidents to, there may be security researchers who are doing security firms likewise, or else too, you can report these into Sri Lanka Cert CC. So you can get some kind of advices from these incident response, emergency response teams out there. I'm not sure whether it's from personal perspective or from a business. So
no, it was the personal email address.
I mean, you received it for your personal email address, or
it happened to my sister, so she received it in a Yahoo email, but the password to the Gmail Yahoo email, the password was from another email address that she had.
Okay. Okay, so that's definitely a phishing attempt. So, what happens is it's basically some kind of it's intimidating you into doing some stuff. But these can be, if you have, like you said, you have backed up the information. That's a really good first level of action you can take. Probably you can change your passwords as well in the previous accounts, and then like we said, log out from other active devices, likewise. So yeah. In these cases, in most of these cases, this is just some emails to mislead us and to threaten us. So, like the actions you have taken is good.
And one third, so while I was getting advice for that incident, I sent a link in the mail messages. So in that, so I was advised to check whether the email address password was breached. So how accurate is that link? So when we typed that email address, and then it said that there's one breach of the password. So and then I tried a few other email addresses that I have. They were all secured.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what happens is, okay, I have been formed. So in most cases, these websites are working on, sort of like open source threat platforms that we have. So these these links also could be another. I mean, there are two sides to it. It can have verified information, or it can have even, it may be another attempt to when you go there and enter your email, that's another way for that site and the people behind that site to get your email address. So there are two sides to it. So if you feel like you have taken all the actions, with what we can do is, I mean, better to not enter your email addresses into these unverified sites as well.
Okay, no, thank you so much, Nata.
And there's another question from Chamodi.
Yeah.
It says, what are the differences between cybersecurity in the cloud and on premises?
So what do you call what happens is, okay, we think on-premise and cybersecurity, there is a difference actually. So ultimately, cloud is actually another person's computer. So we think it's, as long as it's not in somewhere that I have, it's in the cloud, it is in another data center and servers that is hosted in another on-premise. So security, when it comes to, I mean, like in some cases, on-premise cybersecurity, we have to invest a lot. We have to have lots of, effort behind it, resources to manage these things. So if it's a large cloud services provider, they have the upper hand of having the resources because they are in the business. So they have better security. They can have better security controls in it. So that's the ultimate difference that is there. So ideally, even if we are going with a cloud service provider, what happens is we have to make sure, okay, we have to communicate to them and probably have contracts with them. We need this level of cyber controls. So you have to provide us that as well. So that's the major difference between on-prem and cloud security. So in the end, again, the concept is it's another person's computer. So we have to make sure that is also secured as well.
All right. There's one more question. This is from Nishadi Sanjana. 1 or 2 months back, I have entered password of my Microsoft account into an unknown website mistakenly. As it was my university provided account, I could not reset the password from my personal computer. Later, I tried to add two-factor authentication to that account, but the system is not allowing me to do that either. Still, now I have not faced any problem, but that is my university email and it contains a lot of information. So what can I do to secure my account?
Yeah, so first thing is, have you reached out to the university, and since they have probably given you the username and password, the reset could be done from their side, and probably you better inform the university regarding this as well. So I think it says, but the system is allowing me to still now. So I'm pretty sure you are referring to the system, the university portal that you have. So better ask the administrator and probably the administrator role who is doing it to reset the account from their side for the time being, and then probably you can say, then if it's still, I mean, they should have the right kind of action plan to take if that is the case. I hope that covers the answer. So,
Yes, I'm scrolling through to see if we have missed any questions.
so there was a question for his fake Facebook account can be traced. Yes, there we have, in some cases, if it has, if we report these things, this could be taken up by, we have the, from the CERT perspective, we have the emergency readiness teams, we can take their advice in many cases. So they are working with Facebook when it comes to all these Facebook misuse and abuse cases.
Guys, if you all have questions, please ask. ඕන භාෂාවකින් කමක් නැහැ ප්‍රශ්න අහන්න. මේ මොකද සමහරක් විට අපිට මිස් වෙන්න පුළුවන් මෙතනින් තියෙන thread එකෙන් බලලා questions කියනකොට. ඒ හින්දා please ask your questions. Feel free to ask your questions. Okay, there's another interesting question. It says, when I add my bank card to an online bill payment app like Paymaster, can't they get our money from our card without us knowing?
That means, so I'm obviously, so you're referring to, definitely they can't without you knowing. So they have to, because they even if it's a Paymaster, they are using a token system provided by the bank. So anyway, you will be informed about these things. Unless
I
somebody,
hope,
unless like your that the particular app can be hacked, and then some bypasses could be done, then definitely they will do it. But probably it will not happen, because they have to, the token has to be issued by the bank. Your card data is not saved in this.
We have another question, Nuwanti. It says, why hasn't the global government been able to block all the dark websites?
So, I mean, opinion wise, I mean, there should be like what we, there are like, certain, let's say, it depends on the, so, I mean, like from cybersecurity perspective, from independent perspective, we can't give exactly an answer to that in case. So what happens is, even if we block, these domains keep coming up. I mean, if one particular site can be blocked in these things, another one come back up again. So we need to have continuous monitorings from a national level in order to fight these things. So like, even if we take torrent sites, we block one thing and they come up with another domain. So,
and of course, it's like, it's information is also like a bioweapon, right? I think it's like the modern warfare.
Yes.
So I don't think any of these huge global, politicians would want to take off the dark website, because they know the positive things they can, I mean, not positive for us, but of course for them, that they could do with the dark web manipulations,
yes,
and all that.
exactly. So
Do we have any other questions? Or have we covered everything that was stated here in the chat? I'm just going through.
Excuse me, Mr. Nwanza, so can you recommend a safe way or safe site, safe place to download whatever the movies we need on internet?
So it's not like, I mean, like if we say to download movies, it could be like we are promoting proprietary violations as well. So I mean, like we lots of facilities are now open. You know, streaming platforms are now open for Sri Lanka. So I mean, like instead of we moving into all these torrent sites and all these things, I mean, we have at very lower cost, we have all these movie streaming sites made available to Sri Lanka, like Netflix, Amazon Prime, like these things. So I mean, like from cybersecurity side, as cybersecurity professionals and privacy professionals, we do not recommend downloading torrents at all, because it's violate proprietary proprietary purposes and all these things. So what we recommend is always, it's someone's effort, it's someone's sensitive, someone's creative work. So that should not be the case if we illegally be entertained by these things. That's, if you want a straightforward answer, that is what we would recommend.
Yep, got it. Thank you.
There's another question, Nuan. It says, how trusted can phone virus guards be?
So same way for what do you call the desktop or laptop virus guards, same service providers do give virus mobile antivirus for mobiles as well. So it's like, if we have, like I said, if we are using commercial versions or else some trial versions or free versions of these verified antivirus guards, it will not still be like, will give you the level of protection that you require. Ideally, you should go with a commercial antivirus provider for mobiles as well. Now, in many cases, even if you take Samsung, they do have their own antivirus system in place, so might not exactly need an additional one. So better to have if you are using because in most cases, if you're using a particular antivirus guard in your desktop, they have the mobile version as well. So you can get the mobile version as well.
We have another question. It says, as WhatsApp and Instagram is now owned by Facebook, does that mean that WhatsApp communications can be monitored by Facebook Incorporation?
Again, so the same privacy issue is there. So I mean, that's WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook are now all the same thing. So they do so what do you call, they can still monitor the communications as well, but it is like, end-to-end encryption is there. So there is an additional level of protection we have. So I mean, they claim that even their employees can't see it, but we never know.
Exactly. Facebook being Facebook, you never know. And what is the first step to take if we open a WhatsApp scam message accidentally, which will be shared to all the groups after opening?
So I mean, you can, if you have accidentally shared it, so you better inform the people, probably the same group it has been. We get these things quite often. They send again, as they probably remove it before everyone sees it, because there is an option for remove from everyone. So what happens is they can give it, you can inform, do not click on this, send a message followed by that. So there is.
Is Telegram safer than WhatsApp?
From privacy side, it is. So there we can, it has options to be anonymous and everything. So I mean, most people tend to use Telegram as well. So I mean, like, ultimately again, it depends. Like you said, both are. So it depends on the how user friendliness, and both are encrypted. And end-to-end encryption is there. So yeah, more privacy. Telegram is actually more privacy focused messaging. platforms. Ultimately,
So
it
is
depends on how
Signal.
we, yeah,
So is
yes,
Signal, right? Even
yes,
Signal has that.
yes.
Okay.
Uh,
Do we have any other questions, or we can end the session?
I think we are good to go, right? I mean, we have tried to answer most of the questions, guys, at the time frame given. So, like we have said, you can always reach out to us, anything regarding these things. I think we have shared, our team has shared the link that you can get in touch with the association. So, related to if it's for educational guidance, if it's for awareness, for all these matters, like I said, we are, we aim to be work towards building community awareness in cybersecurity. So we are always open for your questions and for your suggestions and to assist you guys. So if there are no other questions, Anthony, can we wrap up? Hello. Hello.
And if you all need further information, you all can join through this WhatsApp link as well. This is
Yes.
directly the project group link, so y'all can access to us, Rotaract Club of Panadura or Association of Cybersecurity Professionals through this group as well, and also post further questions. So on behalf of the Rotaract Club of Panadura, I would like to say thank you to Association of Cybersecurity Professionals and Nuanta. Thank you so much for all that valuable information, because I personally learned so much today. I mean, because I'm a person having one password for everything and it hasn't been changed for about, I don't know, since when, like 2009. So I think I'm compromised already. So thank you so much. And again, thank you for all the participants for coming today. And I think it must have been a really productive session for all of you. So let's have more sessions on these things. Like there are specific things that we can talk in depth, I think, with regards to this subject. So hopefully in future we'll have more sessions. Nuanta, if you would like to give any ending remarks.
Yes. So once again, I'd like to thank the Rotaract Club for this opportunity. It has been like, reaching out to us and give us, to focus our talent as well. So that's, yeah. So, and then again, like you said, reach out to the Rotaract Club group or else to us for all your questions and, anything that you want to ask from us. We are open for your suggestions, open to support you as well. Yeah, so I hope you all follow these tips and learn more, follow the best practices that you can stay safe while you are on the internet.
And I also need to say thank you to Roshil from your association and Rotaractor Sandun and Rotaractor Manula for helping out with this project, organizing this project, to be honest. Like they were the people who came up with this idea. So thank you guys. Thank you a lot. I mean, thanks a lot for organizing this. And I wish stay safe, all of you, and be well. Have a great Monday. Good night.
Good night, guys.
Thanks, guys. Good night. Stay safe.